poor child who has not yet loved. With the first kiss, a new world opens to you, and with it, life enters your enraptured heart in manifold radiance. I want to tell you a fairy tale. Listen. Hyacinth and Rosebud, a Märchen by Novalis.
Long ago, there lived far to the west of here a very young fellow, good, but extremely odd. This young person worried himself continually about this little nothing or that little nothing. He always walked in silence. He stared straight ahead. He sat down alone by himself when other youngsters played happily. He brooded upon strange things. Caves and forest were his favorite haunts. There he chatted with beasts and birds, with trees and rocks. But of course, if you or I had been there, we would not have heard one sensible word, only silly nonsense to make a person laugh to death. Thus, the youth continued, always moody and serious. The squirrel, the monkey, the parrot, and the bullfinch could not amuse him. Despite their best attempts, they could not change his broody ways. How they tried! The goose told stories, the brook jingled a ballad, a great thick stone cut ridiculous capers. The rose stole lovingly about him and twined so tenderly through his hair, and the ivy stroked his troubled brow. But his melancholy was stubborn. His parents were much troubled and did not know what to do. He was in good health and ate well enough. They had never done anything to make him angry, and until a few years ago, he had been the liveliest and the merriest of his friends. First in all the pranks, and a favorite with the girls. He was very handsome as a picture book prince. Ah, yes, and he danced like an angel.
Now among the young girls there was one, a charming beauty. She was so lovely she looked unreal, with hair like golden silk and cherry red lips. She had a perfect figure and coal-black, raven-black eyes. You should have seen her. Whoever looked upon her stood stock still in their tracks. She was so lovely, she enchanted everyone. Now Rosebud, for that was her name, was very fond of the handsome youth Hyacinth, for that was his name. And Hyacinth loved Rosebud fit to perish. They only had eyes for each other. The other children knew nothing about it at first, but the violet whispered the secret, "Psst," And the little house cats knew the secret too, for the houses of the parents stood very close. At night, when the house cats prowled in the bushes for mice, they saw Hyacinth at his window and Rosebud at hers. And then the house cats laughed and meowed so loudly that the young lovers blushed and cried, "Shh, kitty, shh." The violet told it in confidence to the strawberry. The strawberry told it in confidence to the raspberry. And the raspberry never ceased rasping when Hyacinth came along. So that by and by, the whole garden and the forest knew the secret. When Hyacinth went out, he heard on every side the teasing birds. "Little Rosie is my posy." This made him mad. But the next moment he could not help laughing from the bottom of his heart. A little lizard came slip-sliding along, and it sat down on a warm stone and waggled its tail and sang, "Little Rosebud, good and wise, all at once had lost her eyes. Taking Hyacinth for her mother, round his neck her arms she flings. Then perceiving she's another, runs away? No, she clings faster, tighter than before, only loving all the more."
Alas, how soon the good times end. A man arrived from a strange country. The stranger had traveled wondrous far and wide. He had a long beard, deep eyes, frightfully large eyebrows, and a marvelous garment with many folds woven with curious figures. He seated himself before the house of Hyacinth's parents. Hyacinth at once became very inquisitive, and he sat down beside the stranger, and he served him bread and wine. The stranger parted his white beard and told stories deep into the night, and Hyacinth never budged or got tired of listening. This much we all learned afterward. The stranger talked a great deal about distant lands and unknown countries and amazingly wonderful things. He visited for 3 days, and he crept with Hyacinth down into deep shafts. Little Rosebud scolded the old sorcerer pretty thoroughly, for Hyacinth was altogether spellbound by these conversations, and he paid no heed to anything else. Hyacinth hardly bothered to swallow a morsel of food. At length the stranger departed, but he left Hyacinth a little book that no human being could read. Hyacinth gave the stranger fruit and bread and wine to take with him, and he accompanied him a long way down the road. At last he returned home deep in thought, and thereafter he took up quite a new way of life. Rosebud was very sad about him. From that day forward, Hyacinth gave Rosebud not a single glance. He always kept to himself.
But it came to pass that one day Hyacinth came home. He was like a new person. He fell on his parents' necks and wept. I must go away to a foreign land. The old woman in the forest has told me what I must do to get well. She has thrown the stranger's book into the fire and has made me come home to ask your blessing. Dear parents, perhaps I'll come back soon, perhaps never. Say goodbye to Rosebud for me. I wish I could tell her myself. I do not know what has come over me. I must go. When I try to recall better times, anxious thoughts distract me. My rest is gone. My heart and love go with it. I must know where they went. I would gladly tell you where I go, but I do not know. To find the mother of all, the virgin with the veil. For her my spirit is on fire. Farewell, farewell. He tore himself away from his parents and ran out. His sad parents lamented and shed many tears. And Rosebud kept to her room and wept very bitterly.
Hyacinth ran as fast as he could, through valleys and wilderness, over mountains and streams, towards the land of mystery. Everywhere he questioned men and beasts, and rocks and trees. Where can I find the sacred mother? Many laughed, and many kept silent, but nowhere did he hear an answer. At first he passed through a rugged wild country. Mist and clouds threw themselves in his way, but he rushed on wildly. Then he came to boundless deserts of sand, glowing mounds of dust. And as he went on and on, his mood began to alter. Time became very slow, and his inward unrest abated. He grew gentle. The stormy moods and passions deep inside him changed into a mild but powerful attraction, in which his whole spirit was dissolved. It seemed as if many years lay behind him.
And now the country became richer and more varied. The air soft and blue, the way much smoother. Green bushes enticed him with their pleasant shadows, but he did not understand their speech. Indeed, they seemed not to speak, and yet they filled his heart with their green hues and their cool, still presence. Ever stronger inside him became that sweet longing. Ever broader and juicier grew the leaves of vegetation. Ever louder and gay the birds and beasts. Ever riper the fruits. Ever darker the heavenly blue. Ever warmer the air. Ever more ardent his love. And time went now ever faster, as if time knew that he neared the goal.
One day he met a crystal stream. he saw a multitude of flowers coming down into a valley between dark, soaring cliffs. The flowers greeted him with friendly voices and happy words. "Dear country folk," said he, "where shall I find the sacred dwelling of the Mother? Hereabouts it must be located. And you know this country far better than I do." "We are but passing through," replied the flowers. "A spirit family is traveling, and we are preparing for them road and rest. A little way back, however, we passed through a country where we heard the name of the great goddess. Only go up where we came down, and you will soon learn more." The flowers and the stream smiled at this. They offered him a cool drink. Then they went on their way. Hyacinth followed their counsel. He walked on and kept on asking questions, and he came at last to the dwelling he had sought for so long. It was hidden among palms and other rare plants. His heart throbbed with infinite yearning, and in this abode of eternal seasons he felt thrilled with the sweetest anticipation.
Amid heavenly fragrances he fell asleep, for a dream alone could lead him into the Holy of Holies. Dream arrived in her marvelous fashion and conducted him through endless rooms filled with strange objects. How? By means of bewitching sounds and varied harmonies. All seemed so familiar and yet strange with an unknown splendor. And then the last veil of the perishing world dissolved before his eyes, and he stood before the Mother, the celestial Virgin.
He lifted the thin glistening veil, and then Rosebud sank into his arms. A far-off music surrounded the mysteries of love's reunion. The music embraced the outpouring of their longings and has protected the scene of their rapture from every stranger.
For long years afterwards, Hyacinth lived with Rosebud and with his loving parents and old companions. Numberless grandchildren thanked the wonderful old wise woman for her advice and inspiration. For in those days, people had as many children as they desired. But it came to pass that one day Hyacinth came home. He was like a new person. He fell on his parents' necks and wept. "I must go away to a foreign land. The old woman in the forest has told me what I must do to get well. She has thrown the stranger's book into the fire and has made me come home to ask your blessing. Dear parents, perhaps I'll come back soon, perhaps never. Say goodbye to Rosebud for me. I wish I could tell her myself. I do not know what has come over me. I must go." When I try to recall better times, anxious thoughts distract me. My rest is gone, my heart and love go with it. I must know where they went. I would gladly tell you where I go, but I do not know. To find the mother of all, the virgin with the veil. For her my spirit is on fire. Farewell, farewell. He tore himself away from his parents and ran out. His sad parents lamented and shed many tears. And Rosebud kept to her room and wept very bitterly.